what I'm shooting for is I want to buy a piece of land that's in demand.
Yeah.
What does that mean? We see other parcels in the area selling somewhat similar to that.
Okay.
And I want to get it for, less than what it's worth and sell it for what it's actually worth. And hopefully, and I can't do it on all of them, but hopefully get some type of note out of it where someone gives me a big down payment.
Yeah.
And then they pay me a monthly payment for like 30 years at 12% interest. That's where the mad money kicks in. I mean, that's how you make a massive passive income with land.
Well, welcome to a new podcast episode of Real Estate vs. Technology. Can't believe we have over 450 plus episodes past 4+ years, almost 5 years recording this podcast. We had an individual that I was actually scouting to be on different shows, and I was checking out his resume and who he is and what he's about. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy is a coach on the wholesaling side. He also is doing things with land deals. And we've never had anyone on the show before that really specialized in land before. He served in the U.S. Army, so thank you to his service. And we're looking forward to go deeper with ways that you, our viewers and listeners, could potentially diversify, be able to invest into other assets, and be able to make additional income with the conversations that we're going to have today. So we have the one and only Brent on the show. Welcome to Real Estate vs. Technology. Super excited to dive into your story and all the things that add value to our viewers and listeners today.
What's happening, Norman? Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited for everything you're up to.
Of course, man. Thank you so much as well. So let's get a little into your story and leading up to where you're at today. And congratulations on all to your success and the things that you've done to achieve your successes to get to this point. And that's where I feel like the show is amazing for individuals that want to get to where, say, we are, or want to diversify or look at other opportunities. And so I'm excited myself, I got to say personally, to learn about land and what you could do with that. But how did you get into this kind of like real estate game and start coaching on the side of wholesaling and what have you?
Yeah, the coaching is a fun part. And just for anybody listening to this, I'm just a regular dude with a lot of problems myself. The problems don't go away. They just change. The money problems don't go away. They just change. You and I were talking about that right before we got on. Sometimes they become bigger. But really, my story was I got in real estate in 2007. I bought that first rental property, got my real estate license, and then quit at the end of 2009.
Wow.
I'm sorry, at the end of 2008, and joined the military in 2009 because I just couldn't hack it. I had a lawn landscape company. I was doing well with that, and then I quit all that, handed that business over, and moved to West Palm Beach, Florida. And man, everyone knows what happened in 2008, 2009. I wish I would have stayed in it. But hindsight's 2020. It got between my ears that I wasn't going to make it because everyone else was getting out of the business. And a good friend of mine was like, go join the Air Force. And I tried, they wouldn't let me in. So I went to the Army. They'll take anybody. So I took a little break from 2009 to 2013. Went to Afghanistan twice, and then the Army selected me for this thing called Green to Gold and sent me to college, and I was back in real estate. I bought the house next door to the college and did something called house hacking. I rented out all the rooms, I think Bigger Pockets coined that. I don't know, but I was renting out all my rooms and making a fortune doing it. So that's a little bit about me. And then, I had a family, and it was time to move again. I kept buying rentals, but I had another big problem happening. I was preparing for that third combat deployment, and I was always gone.
Oh my
God. My second wife was, I swear, she was just about ready to leave me because, you hear about the 1-year deployments or the 9-month deployments or the 6-month deployments. Well, we were about to deploy again for 9 months, but there's a 6-month train up. So what is that? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 months. Like that's almost like a year and a half you're gone from your family. And I just couldn't hack it anymore. So I started looking for answers, listening to podcasts just like this one, and heard a guy flipping land. And I literally took immediate, imperfect, massive, dangerous action. And here we are today.
Wow, man, that's awesome. Well, first and foremost, thank you for your service. And, Yeah, I think there's a lot to be learned, right, from the perspective of, talk about first a second wife and what happened with that. You're not being available and gone and serving our country and what have you. It puts a lot of stress and pressure on families, partnerships, and what have you on that side. And it's funny how full circle, man. You're like doing what you're doing. You're like, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna list. I'm gonna take a break from it all. And full circle moment. Here you are yet again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to have failures in life. I failed at so many businesses I've started and stopped and what I call failed. But
Yeah.
really the end of the day, those were just stepping stones, pieces of the puzzle that had to be put together. So when I found that land, when I heard the guy talking about land deals, I was like, this is my opportunity. And
Wow.
like, if what he's saying is true, this is how I get out of the military. Well, 9 months later, I'm at $9,800 a month coming in passive income. And this was pure profit, not like gross rents that I received. And every month I was fixing a water heater or a furnace or a sewer pump out. Like, I had a tenant, they had an inch of sewer in their basement. I'm like, why do these keep happening to my rental properties? I was taking out what we call AER loans, Army Emergency Relief Loans, to fix my rentals after I would evict tenants. It was like screwed up. I was literally working for these tenants.
Jeez. Yeah. And that's where I feel like rentals, they have the dark side, right? And there's like, oh, the passive income, mailbox money. But then, things happen, right? Things break. I mean, even with us, my wife and I right now, thank God it's on our primary, but we got 2 fix and flips that are 55 plus into these communities. And like, you got to pay lot rent, and there's no subleasing, there's no renting, there's no nothing, because you got to qualify for the park and all the things. And so we're like, okay, cool. We have like, I don't know, 150 grand just sitting, and there's not much we could do with it. You're going to still pay the lot rent. And if it wasn't for Liftoff Agent that sponsors the show, and she already having her company, we could pay the lot rent for as long as we need to get the property sold, and so make a little something. But if you're trying to fix and flip and you don't have the cash flow, those properties are gone. You just lost out on, and then like just same thing with you. So that's where I feel like, for when I think about land personally, and this is where I think education will come in. Like, I'm thinking like, okay, you can't get a loan, you got to have cash, and then are you going to build on it? Zoning, there's a lot to play into that. Where do you buy land? How do you buy land? All the things. And so I'm really curious, personally here. I kind of look at this as like, yeah, we're serving a lot of individuals, and I'm getting a free coaching call here. So
heck yeah, let's go.
Go, man.
You just really got me pumped up to talking about lot rent. So so I like to take my land income and my passive income from the land and invest into light industrial with triple net tenants, triple net leases.
Yeah.
But what's gotten me really excited lately is mobile home parks, because it's still land, right? But we collect, like, if I'm looking at one, it's got 30 units, and it's not a big parcel of land, but I'm like, I get rent 30 times on one piece of land and I'll own it forever. But here's what's even better. My CPA was like, Brent, you got another $80,000 that you've got to either pay the IRS this year or go and buy a, $80,000 mobile home park. And I was like,
love that.
What choice would you choose? Buy an asset or pay the government? Which I was paid by the government for a long time. Thank you to everyone that pays their taxes, but I would rather invest that money and let it grow. So I'm super excited about mobile home parks here. And basically what we're going to be doing is buying the park and selling all the units to the tenants. And then we're going to turn it over to 55 and older slowly. So that way we get rid of the riffraff and all that, which there's not much riffraff, but anyhow, yeah. So talking about land, I think land is probably the fastest, easiest way to get started in real estate, with a little capital. You don't have to have a ton of capital. You got to have something to be able to send letters to landowners, or at least some type of marketing. And if you don't, then you need some more time. When I started, I didn't have time or money. So I had to, rely on the United States Postal Service to send out the letters. I like to make 50 offers a day. So I send what's called a land offer letter. It's a purchase agreement that offers a specific amount for the land. And then when the seller gets it, they can either reject me and hurt my feelings by throwing it in the trash. Sometimes they call and reject me and tell me mean words. And sometimes they sign it and send it back, and I get it in my inbox, and I literally LOL. It's why I call my land offer letter laugh out loud, because I just got a smoking hot deal under contract. So that's kind of the process. It didn't start that way. I mean, I started this in 2016 and I made a ton of mistakes, some crazy stories, but that's how I got to up to at one time $44,000 a month in income just from these land deals.
Interesting. Very interesting. So then these land deals, when you search, find, and then offer, what does it look like in regards to, what's the intention behind it? Is it to build on it? Is it just to then list it and then make the market difference? Like what's the intention behind it?
So there's been a few parcels I've built on. I put mobile homes on a couple of them. We put stick built homes on a couple, and those are wildly profitable, especially the mobile home parks, or not the ones we put mobile homes on, which is nuts. People love a brand new double wide mobile home, and there's a lot of financing for them. But preferably, really, my method, my bread and butter, what I'm shooting for is I want to buy a piece of land that's in demand. What does that mean? We see other parcels in the area selling somewhat similar to that. And I want to get it for, less than what it's worth and sell it for what it's actually worth. And hopefully, and I can't do it on all of them, but hopefully get some type of note out of it where someone gives me a big down payment. And then they pay me a monthly payment for like 30 years at 12% interest. That's where the mad money kicks in. I mean, that's how you make a massive passive income with land. And I mean, we got 49 notes coming in monthly. These are active notes. Not all of them are, we've got some others that are like, we're taking the land back, which happens. It's kind of the dirty part about this business. But people will stop paying. They will stop paying if they don't pay at least $5,000 or $6,000 down, which I've found. But 75% of those payments coming in, it's pretty much all interest. It's like printing money.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I think for the viewers and listeners out there, land is where it's at when you think about like the story of McDonald's, right? It's not the Big Mac and fries. It's the land and it's the building that they own, plus then also, the food. So there's three verticals to say, for example, McDonald's business model. With your business model, looking at land and having the leverage of cash flow to be able to offer that cash offer. And the cool thing is that you're reverse engineering this. And I think that one thing that comes up for me, and I can imagine for you, Brent, and then people out there that are proactive, I feel like entrepreneurs are 9 times out of 10 are proactive. And so you're saying, okay, I see this opportunity sitting here and this is selling and that is selling. And here's a plot that's not selling. So until the person goes, light bulb moment, wakes up, because it's sitting there out of mind, out of sight. It's almost like it doesn't exist if it's not in front of your face. And if you're not seeing what's going on around you, Brent's like, hey, I want to be proactive here. I see the opportunity. So, hey, let me send out this and that and whatever letter and see what type of opportunity I can get back from this opportunity, from this person not even opening their eyes, seeing it. And I love that. I love that silver lining there. And I also love too, like you being honest about some mistakes that you made. I think we could talk here and be, oh, it's great. Get started today. But you said, you're getting the phone conversations that aren't very nice. People might just throw it away in the trash, or they might send you an email back with, take me off your fucking list, whatever. We're on Unleashed here. So you can go ahead and, we can get a little loose here, but I like that. And so so the catalyst, so you had a mentor that was the catalyst for you to get into this world. Is that correct with the land deals?
Yeah. So I'm so blessed to be a host on the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. Every Friday, I have one of my land sharks come on and we deep dive their deals. What's that?
Checked out one of your shows. You guys definitely have a very unique vibe, very different, very interesting, very quirky, but very captivating as well.
I love it, man. I appreciate that. And Brent Daniels actually is on he's a host as well. So a lot of people confuse us. I'm the way better looking, taller one.
There you go.
He's just got really big muscles.
He looks like he works out or something.
Every day, I think 2 or 3 times a day. But anyhow, so like, yes, people do. They tell me to do some stuff that's not even possible. But yeah. As far as you threw me off though. I don't even know what we were talking about.
No, we're talking about like some of the pitfalls,
Oh, the pitfalls. Yeah, man.
Mentor and what was the catalyst?
The mentor. Yeah. So I was a Wholesaling Inc. student back in 2016 to wholesale houses. And, It worked a little bit for a little while. I wholesaled quite a few houses, and I was also flipping for a while, but I really wasn't super profitable. I was spending so much per contract.
Mm-hmm.
And contractors stole from me. Like I'm just not a good manager of things. I think it was really me. I can give excuses all day, but they're like poison. Just spit them out. It wasn't working for me. And I was like, this guy's talking land. He's like doubling his money overnight. And half of what he's saying is true. I can do this. So I did it. And immediately, like I mailed a postcard that's like, hey, my name's Brent. I'd like to buy your house or your land, not house, at 123 Main Street. If you're interested, call me. If you're interested in an all cash fair price offer, God bless. And people were like blowing up my phone because I mailed the county held tax lien list. Basically, this is a list of inefficient land, not buildable, not accessible, landlocked crap that tax lien investors weren't even paying the back taxes, or they didn't want to buy the tax lien on it. So when these people got my mailer, they're like, we'll sell it. What do you? And then the first guy that called was a retired CPA. He's like, $285, it's yours. Well, I ended up flipping it for $5,000 like the next day. And then the second parcel, and I didn't even know what I was doing. That agent, it was a real estate agent that bought it from me. She sold it for like 15 grand. I've sold other parcels in that area, like 10 more for like 30 grand a pop. Did I get them all at 285? Heck no. I wish I would have. But like the second land deal was landlocked, and I had no clue what I was looking at. I didn't even know how to comp this stuff. Like all my rental real estate kind of went out the window. I wasn't running title searches. Bad mistake. I was getting quit claim deeds. Terrible mistake. I was getting treasurer's deeds where the title was clouded for like 9 years.
Wow.
Another mistake. But here's the thing. I never lost a single penny on any land deal I've ever done. Now, some of it I've still got an inventory that I'm like having to shift or pivot on some little ways. But when you offer financing to people, it like digs you out of these holes. Literally, I bought a hole in the ground one time. I didn't go look at it. The appraisers, the assessor's website said it was worth $37,000. I paid $3,700 for it. I was like, what can go wrong? I ended up selling it for $3,700, and it took me like many years to collect that back from the buyer. But I finally did probably like $200,000 in net profit over a couple years. Then I hired that guy that I heard on the podcast because I almost felt like I owed him. So, and I've had many coaches. I have coaches for like everything. My wife's like makes fun of me. She's like, well, what program are you in now, Brent? So
I love that. That's so interesting. So never lost a dollar from a land deal. And so you're doing, kind of reminds me of Peace Morby with Sub 2.
Yeah. I work with a lot of his community members.
Your Sub 2 saying, hey, would like to buy your land, so on and so forth. And so when that happens, you're buying it, but then you're offering financing for someone else. And then do you have conversations about what they could do with the land or that to like kind of help them, coach them if they do want to buy it? Because, zoning or building or whatever done on that.
They have all these questions, and have my virtual assistant put on a one sheet, everything they can do. We call it our DD sheet, our due diligence sheet. And it says what it's zoned for, what they can build on it, blah, blah, blah. And then sometimes people will build, sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll improve it. Sometimes they'll put a driveway or a well. A lot of people have like very wishful thinking with it. And then sometimes they just pay us all cash. And, I've seen people build on some of them. It's funny. My office manager was telling me about a piece of land that came up on one of the Excel sheets. And she's like, what's up with this one? We actually sold it to a builder years ago, and he built on it and then paid us when he sold. It was one of those weird lots we bought in Colorado Springs, but the power lines ran over it. So they had to like dig down and put the house like further under. So it was like one of those special, I got it for like nothing hardly, but I had to get creative to sell it.
Wow. Very, very interesting. So if someone out there buys land and then is going to have that part of their portfolio, what does it look like as far as, I guess, on average, it probably just depends. You're paying basically taxes, correct? That's what that anyone's going to be paying on the land when it sits you have it for 12, 24 months, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's it. Like I have taxes. I have landowners association fees that we pay. Some of them are in HOAs.
Really?
A lot of times
charge you with HOA fees, and
Mhm.
there's nothing on it besides this. You just got own the land.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you got to pay those. Yeah, I just had to pay a bunch of those fees, and even though a lot of them are sold on payments, it really sucks to write those checks. It really does, and um,
Nothing.
so yeah,
Especially, it's like, are you cutting the lawn, or what are you doing for the land here? Gonna pay you
nothing.
dues? Nothing.
Nothing. One of them's called Forbes Park. I have 12 or something lots out there, and it's just vacant land, and really it maintains the roads.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Well, I guess that makes sense. You gotta have the roads to get you to the location and what have you on that side.
Exactly. The nicer the roads, the more you can get for the land. It's a huge thing.
Okay, so let's go into a little bit more brack tax. So someone's out there, they're listening or viewing, and now you piqued their interest. Like, I want to potentially buy land. So what would be some different areas that maybe you would suggest? And then not just areas, but like what would be the process? So they can kind of walk them through like a B, C, D. And then anyone that does go through this process, all links down below will be available for Brent. So you can go ahead and give him a follow, send him a DM and be like, I saw your real estate first technology. I got my first land deal. Thanks to you and what I heard on the podcast. So give us some context around that from the perspective of, how do you find the deals first? What's some hot areas to potentially purchase in? I was watching a video on Grant Cardone, and he was talking about here's the markets you should be buying in and not buying in. And he's multifamily. So, he has huge complexes that he's buying and what have you. But on the land side, what would you recommend? First question is some hot spots to potentially look at.
Well, I just pulled up, I just Googled North American migration trends, and it's a website called northamerican.com/migration-map.
I love that.
North American Moving Services owns it. Their top inbound states in 2024: Idaho, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia. So I just so happened to buy land in all these areas except for Idaho, which is crazy because that's the number one, which maybe I need to look in that area. So I go on Redfin and I look and see where the hot maps are, where the land's selling. And it doesn't have to be like 37 parcels of land in 1 week. If it's like 4 or 5 in a year, it's going to work. Nice. You just really want to see demand. And then you backwards plan it. You figure out what it's selling for by the square foot or by the acre. And then you send out what I call my land offer letter. And I'll give anybody that wants a copy of that, just go to thelandsharks.com/LOL, as in land offer letter. You can download it.
Love it.
Start sending offers to these landowners. And once you get one back, now you have it under contract and you can reach out and find a cash buyer that you can assign your contract to. Or I like to preferably buy the land. Then I find the real estate agent that's doing like the best market. I mean, you guys do marketing. You help other realtors with marketing. Marketing is everything. All I'm doing is literally taking this piece of land and packaging it in a better marketing because I want a lot of eyeballs. I want to be omnipresent. I want it to be everywhere. So we take videos, ground photos, ground videos, drone photography, have some music. I find the realtors doing all that. And I call them and I'm like, hey, what's the blowout price? What's the get her done now price? What could you if you had Mr. or Mrs. Realtor, if you had a hard money loan on this land and you wanted to sell it in 30 days, what would you list it for? And that's where I know, okay, if I'm at 30,000 and the land's worth, the blowout price is 55, I think I've got a deal type thing.
Interesting. I love that. So let's kind of reverse engineer here. And I want to go a little bit deeper because I don't know how many people viewing and or watching understands the opportunities within, say, the tax lien. So you said you found a tax lien, did the scrub, found the list, sent out a bunch of LOL letters. So it sounds like they could use the website you just provided, links down below, search for the most popular areas, we'll say Charlotte, North Carolina, and then you could search and look at the tax liens to then be able to see if there's any liens within land on that basically area. So
absolutely
in the liens, because with the tax liens, when you're finding the information, how do you find tax liens? And then you make the offer and the person says, heck yeah. Well, obviously they're not paying what they're supposed to be paying on taxes. Yeah. So then you can imagine you got to pay for the land plus you got to pay for whatever the tax lien is. Is that correct?
Yep, usually, and let me just give a disclaimer. I don't only focus on taxing. That's a very small list, and you run out of that pretty quickly.
Hmm.
I use another program called PropStream. You can get like a 7-day free trial if someone goes to the landsharkslist.com. So I pull it directly from there. Some of them are tax lien, some are out of state owner. I don't really care. I've had banger deals, like I mean over 100K net profit deals on people that lived in the same county that were not behind on taxes.
Okay. So then you'd say recommend viewers and listeners go to your website, go to that link. It's gonna be down below here to be able to find deals more so than going through the tax lien situation. Because tax lien,
Don't get me wrong, you can get deals on tax liens, like or tax delinquent land. Like it's usually harder though. When I was doing that in the beginning, they would send me a fax of all the schedule numbers. APN, assessor's parcel numbers, is basically what Colorado called this. They called it schedule numbers. So I'd have to pay a virtual assistant to individually, one by one, put those schedule numbers in the assessor's website and then give me the name, the address, then the mailing address. It took months. It was just so like tedious of a process to do that.
Okay. Got it. So I'm curious. So you're doing the Land Shark thing. You're crushing it. That's awesome. Viewers and listeners out there, if you're finding value, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also follow Brent down below. Thanks to Liftoff Agent for sponsoring our show. What and how, should I say, how does it all tie in with you now being coach in the wholesaling game? So,
man, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
You're good.
You just like made me you just gave me a memory from like 2004. I used to like I got Donald Trump books over here, Robert Kiyosaki. I'm still looking at I've got like multiple bookshelves of all. I spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on education over the years. But I was in high school. I had just gotten out of high school actually. And I paid like $4,000 on my Capital One card to go to like a 3-day seminar with Robert Allen. I thought he was going to be there. But his instructor was up there, and this guy looked like $1 million, like the whitest teeth you've ever seen. Rolex watch, just talking about deal after deal after deal. And I was like, one day I'm going to be him.
I love it.
So I got to the passive income point where I had a lot of time on my hands. I was going to coffee with everybody that wanted to hear, all my Army buddies. But you know how many of them were listening to me? And most of the time I'd have to buy my own coffee, or sometimes theirs too. Like no one was taking action. Yeah. And guy that started Wholesaling Inc., Tom Kroll, give him a little shout out. He was like, Brent, how's the land thing going? I was like, great. He's like, you ever thought about teaching people? I was like, I'm always teaching people how to do it. He goes, oh, great. How many people have taken action with it? Like how many successful people? And I was like, nobody. He's like, how much do you charge? I was like, nothing. I don't charge anything. He goes, well, that's why, dummy. He's like, no one's taking action because they didn't pay a single penny for it. So your advice is worthless. And I was like, I felt like a kick in the pants.
Yeah.
So it's funny. The next day, like someone asked me how much, because I spoke at a meetup we started in Colorado Springs. It's still going, by the way.
Awesome.
And he's like, how much to train me? And I was like, I just like blurted out $1,000. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to say no. I was so uncomfortable saying $1,000. His name was Lance Keene. And the guy's got like $40,000 a month in passive income, lives in Hawaii with him and his 6 children and his wife now. Wow. So I'm just like, that's how the Land Sharks was born. So we got this really small community. There's about 400 of us active land investors. We got lenders, we got funders, we'll do joint ventures. We'll fund the land deals. We're now putting mobile homes on some of these land. So it's just nuts. I can't believe how much of a blessing this community has turned into.
Man, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. And it's amazing. You don't have to come from, money. You could, just be working a 9-to-5 and listen to this podcast and see the opportunity and go into a different direction. And that's why I feel like in life, there's so many things. You don't always have to start a business. You could just join, what you guys are doing and follow a roadmap, have passive income. Because I'll tell you, from my perspective, from being a business owner for 10 plus years, I mean, I rather have, in hindsight, just being 100% transparent, I rather have joined your community, did land deals, started to get passive income, and then take that passive income and then use it for funding the business venture, right? Because you already now have that, that foundation, that nest egg, that passive income coming in, a good solid foundation, instead of taking loan shark money and then learning the hard way and then needing to pay back, these loans and paying all this interest and yada, 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 yada. And that's
Been
what
there.
happens, right? So business owners, right? People out there just taking these loans out because, this is how much revenue I have. Okay, we'll give you a certain percentage of the revenue
Yeah.
basis. It works, but you have nothing to show for it after it's all paid and done. Now,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've took one of those loans for a quick deal one time, and I thought it was 16%. It was. I thought it was 16% per annum. I was like, that's not a big deal. I'm gonna make this much. No, 16% per month. So it's like, but I got it paid back, and there was still a little profit. But I was like, when people call me to give me money from now on, I will never, like, I don't think I'm going to accept it unless like I vet that person, which I do a lot of deals with regular people, like my in-laws and plumber and my dentist. Like they're always sending me money for land, or they're not sending me money. They're sending money to the title company for land deals.
Yeah, no, that's super awesome. So then if someone's listening and viewing right now and they say, hey, I'm just looking to not so much be invested from the perspective of like my time and efforts to find the deals and to do all that, but I just say have $100,000 and I just want to put $100,000 into, say, a vessel that can then give me a rate of return. Is that something that you offer, something that you have? What does that even look like? So if anyone out there does want to invest, they can have some things to think about.
Yeah. We do that. I definitely do that. And I want to really just, I never want to take someone's last dollar. Like I vet the people that I work with. But yeah, if you got us sitting around in like the stock market and you're freaking out, or self-directed IRA or a savings account that you don't actually need the money for the next year, we can definitely talk. I'm generally paying anywhere from like 9 to 14%, depending on the deal, the land deal. I try and buy these land parcels. Most of them to this date have been under 60 cents on the dollar. So that way we protect our lender. We get lender's title insurance policies, set them up on automatic payments. And, some of them are long-term. Some of them are just pay me interest only. So my money keeps growing. And then when we sell the land or the property, we pay the private lender back. Well, the title insurance company does, because they have a first position lien on the property. So we just started testing this mobile home, where we're putting mobile homes on some of our parcels of land, and we're training some of our land sharks to do that. And we're setting them up with funding. And we're taking this like $20,000 lot now, putting $150,000 mobile home on it. So what do we have? 170 now, 50, 60, 70. Yep. And it's now selling for 210, 220, 250, these parcels. Some of them are like double. Wow. We spent about 150, sold one for 300. It's like, this can't be right. But yeah, our lender's in a pretty darn good position at that point. They're under 50 cents on the dollar. So if I get hit by a bus, they can just foreclose on me and take everything.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because like you said, it's marketing, right? At the end of the day, it's marketing, positioning. Before we got on the show, you commented about myself, and I was like showing you like, oh yeah, here's a studio, and like,
nice studio
up there and stuff. And it's the perception, it's the perceived value, it's the, hey, I want to learn more. But I love the fact that you can buy the lot and put a mobile on it, and then look how much more opportunities for additional mobiles there are, right? And then that's how I could imagine how you're getting what you're getting from that. So, for example, let's have some fun here and imagine I say, all right, Brent, I'm going to give you $100,000 and we're going to go to work. What does it look like from the perspective of like start to finish, right? If I wanted to not say it was a short deal, deal, 9 to 14 or 15, whatever you said, the percentage would be, from the conception of finding the actual deal to then, actually finding a buyer after we purchase. What does that even look like? You give the investor hands-on, or you give them the option, want to be hands-on, hands-off? Is that even
some do? Some want weekly updates, which is really boring updates when it comes to land. Hey, we had one showing. I don't know who they are. But on our builds, it's a little bit more interesting. But we got a building project. We're building 30 houses on right now too. Nice. We got another one in North Carolina. We're taking it from 38 acres to 80 lots. Wow. But yeah, so I don't know, man. That's hard for me to say, Norman. Like most of my land deals, from the time I purchase it to the time I sell it is around 3 months is my average.
Okay.
I see a lot of brand new land sharks that will come in and they're like 3 to 6 months getting paid on their first land deal. I mean, some of them are $94,000. It's nothing to sneeze at. Holy cow. I couldn't imagine that being on my first land deal. I think that's a bad thing for someone because you don't get paid that much on all of them. So you're a little spoiled. I got this North Carolina project. That one's supposed to only be 6 months, but I'm projecting a year for it. So I always say 1 year. Let's prepare for 1 year with an extension, just to be safe. Because again, like some of these are money yesterday, like or tomorrow or in a month from now. Like I'm smart enough to know, like we probably should not do business together.
Yeah, 100%. No, it makes a lot of sense because no one needs stress and extra stress on either end. Oh, it's 3. You said 3 months. Now should it be 12? And what the heck? And, well, the market's slow. It's a soft market. Interest rates, this, that. Yeah, there's so many different verticals. But I think for someone who's viewing and listening, if they want to invest, like your CPA said, okay, Brent, we need to do something. You get this $80,000. Either pay the taxes or invest it, right? And I think that anyone out there who's listening, who's having success in real estate, will say that for real estate first technology purposes, hey, how can you potentially put something into something that can give you a rate of return? Well, this is exactly it. I love that. Hey, I just want to have a return. So then it's just another, because the biggest issue that we see in the industry, if like, say, we'll talk real estate, 90% of the business in the residential sector is done by the top 10% of real estate professionals.
Yeah.
And if like someone like my mother-in-law, or excuse me, my sister-in-law is in real estate and she's having a little bit of a slower year, but when she had those really busy years, we saw what happened after COVID. 21, 23 was hot.
Yeah, it was.
So that investing that money that you had, right? And then when it was slower, you still had mailbox money coming in, right? Could be an awesome opportunity to diversify and to do something to make your money work for you. So you don't spend the initial that you made, but then you're spending, whatever, the offspring, the children that came from, the initial investments. And so you spend the profits instead of the actual, beginning amount that you invested.
That's so, yeah, the seed capital, and I've been guilty of that many times where it's like, oh, we flip a house, we spend the money where I should have reinvested that into like a industrial building or a mobile home park, or I bought a piece of land with it, which is, will spin off more money. But yeah, now that's why it's like about a year and a half ago, I was like, I got to stop spending my land money literally and put it into more cash flowing assets, and then take that money from those cash flowing assets. And now obviously I can't take all 100% of it, maybe 50% of it, and then put that into more cash flowing assets before it's like that snowball effect. It's just absolutely massive. It turns into something big. But there's been some hairy moments too. It's like these IRS tax bills we've gotten, like, oh my God, like these little, like, business is not easy, business is not easy. And, it's like, but cash is oxygen to a business. How much should you keep in your account? I don't know. I was just on a call talking about that.
No, I love that, man. I love that. And it's right. You have more moving parts and more things can come up. And then when you do have the snowball effect of a lot of cash flow coming in, then it's just like, okay, what moves do you make and how much cash do you need and how much tax implication will you have? And that's where I feel like, neither of us are this, but having a good CPA, someone you can trust, and that you go through it on a quarterly basis. And it makes a lot of sense. When you're making a lot of money, then, what I've learned is you have to do checks and balances on a quarterly basis. You can't
at minimum.
Yeah, at minimum, because you don't know what you don't know until you look at the P&L and then you're like, oh, whoa, okay, we got to make some shifts here, for Q2 or Q3, what happened at this point? Or like your CPA said, hey, you got to spend this extra cash because, tax implication. But these are the conversations I think that are good to have, because it's not just so much about trading your time for money, which I think a lot of like our viewers and listeners do. And from the perspective of like the hustle and the bustle and doing what you do from basically going through the process of just transacting, right? It's like the next deal, the next deal, the next deal. And then this is great to be able to slow down and say, how do I reinvest? And how do I have opportunities outside of just the one thing that I have and diversify it a bit. So, and so what is your goal when you think about, and just for some strategy's sake, as far as diversification, you got the land deal, you're doing the coaching on the wholesaling thing on the side of things. So, what's in your mind, some verticals to be able to have some, different, different areas that you can invest that maybe someone else can listen to, or maybe find a golden nugget from to be able to do the same?
Yeah, absolutely. The next one is about to be the mobile home park. Again, I'm afraid of the management side of it, because I don't want another job. But then the next thing we'll do is we'll buy another office building. And this time I'll keep some more of it for myself, and then rent out the other half of it, for another triple net tenant lease. I really like the smaller buildings with the roll-up doors, 3 to 4 roll-up doors with a very small amount of office space in it. Those have been very, very well for me. The cash flow like crazy. So, between those two, and keep doing that to help eliminate tax bills. Because again, the taxes that we were paying with the income we were making with the land, that reinvested alone will help someone to become a multimillionaire within 10 years.
That's huge. Wow, man. That's exciting times for anyone who's viewing and listening out there. And a couple side notes on my side. I also want to own a mobile home park, because I've had my hands into multiple mobile home parks doing this fix and flip, and I come from the perspective of the management, which is it's poorly managed. The offices are horrible. The lot rent keeps continually going up. They don't have specific type of plan of actions, which I think that'd be really cool to have a tiered system. So depending on said tenant or said person who qualifies 55 plus for the community, there could be different levels of offer. Like if you want access to A, B, C, and D, you get this package. If you want offer to just nothing, then it's this package. So then people have a little bit more flexibility, or being grandfathered in for a certain amount of time. My father-in-law lives in a mobile home park. My mother-in-law lives in a mobile home park. I've flipped in multiple mobile home parks. And so now I'm like, man, and then our old vice president of Liftoff Agent that sponsors the show owns a mobile home park. So that's where, like, for me, I'm like, all right, I see the silver lining. And I'm like, how can we shift and pivot a little bit to do something different, to be able to add additional value to these individuals that are 55 plus that have fixed income? It's not fair for them to have, and that's one thing, with our 2 fix and flips. I mean, one is $880 a month lot rent, and the other one's like $1,000. And so it's like $1,100. It's like $1,100. Like, what are you gonna wipe my ass? Like, what's going on here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got a pool, I got a hot tub, I got the amenities. Cool. You guys have a little library. You guys have some games and some crochet and bingo. Like, you know what I'm saying? So those are some of the things that are in the back of my mind when it comes to that perspective. So selfishly, we need to keep in contact for that reason, because I'm very curious about the opportunity of what that looks like, whether, buying land out here and doing the same, starting my own mobile home park, because there's lots of opportunities here. I'm in Central Phoenix. I'm in Gilbert, Arizona. So that's one thing. And then on the other end, what you talked about as far as a roll-up door, kind of like a couple office units, I have aspirations to do it's the Warehouse Collective. So turning it into an entrepreneur space where you have car storage, podcast, filming content room. My wife has a tea company, put our tea company in there, and that's going to be here for Gilbert, because when it's 117, 4 months out of the year in Arizona, you got to be inside. So where could there be a community inside center where entrepreneurs and like-minded individuals can come, even a childcare center for the women out there that are single moms and are entrepreneurs, to do something really cool. So those are just some plans behind the scenes that our viewers and listeners are getting, that I would like to do. And just wanted to run across your desk, because I think that, the management side is what's lacking in the mobile home park space.
Yeah, man, I love it. A lot of great things. Well, hey, I got to run and get my kids here real soon. I thank you for having me today.
Yeah, no worries. I guess as we finish off our show, then what's the last golden nugget you like to leave for our viewers and listeners as we finish up here?
Take action. I mean, this is a great podcast. You could probably get a money-making opportunity on every single one you listen to. Pick one, take action, and run with it. This could be the opportunity today that would change your life. forever. I mean, 8 years ago, I can't even believe I did my first land deal. This is nuts. I've been to Germany this past year. I just went off grid last week for a week. I can't believe I'm a land investor.
That's amazing. Well, Brent, thanks so much for being on Real Estate versus Technology. Really appreciate your time. Appreciate all the golden nuggets. And I'm sure our viewers and listeners can take something that they learned from today's episode to apply to their business to get more massive success. So viewers and listeners out there, go follow Brent, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. New episodes every Monday in the morning at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we'll see you all on the next one.